Greetings, friends! What would cause you to leave the country that you were born in, that you grew up in, that you experienced most of your life in? Well, some time ago, my family and I had a chance to go to another country and meet and visit with a man who left the United States to experience life in another country, in Costa Rica, living in an eco-village. And while we were traveling there, we went down this long, unpaved road. And while we were on this road, we had the chance to see some magnificent views of jungle, of mountains. It was beautiful. And then we arrived to Rancho Mastatal. Rancho Mastatal is a place that provides hands-on permaculture-based education for its resident students. And once we arrived, we met Ryan, a fellow American and resident here at Rancho Mastatal.
Howdy folks, my name is Ryan and welcome to the ranch. This is Zone 1 where we do a lot of our annual agriculture. We have herbs, medicinals, things here. I'll take you over here towards some of the beds we've got. We have the main house over here. We have the food processing kitchen over there. And this is where we do all of our eating, all of our cooking, all of our food and fermentation, fruit preservation. Here's a couple of our annual beds. We try to focus on a lot of perennials here. So if you pan over this way, we got katuk, which is fantastic. Salad green, really rugged, grows all year round. In the wet season, we get this wonderful cranberry hibiscus, which, good stuff. Oh. Super, it's kind of a sour flavor, beautiful flower that comes along with it. These things basically self-seed, so they're not necessarily perennials, but they are self-seeding and so they perpetuate themselves.
So what are the temperature requirements for the katuk here as well as the hibiscus? Does it get too cold for them at any points of the year? Is it something maybe we could grow in North Carolina where we're from?
Perhaps so. So a lot of times we're focusing on native things, but the other tool we have in our toolkit is to look at things that are in the same climate zone. Okay. So the thing that we look at here is this is a Southeast Asian plant, katuk, and katuk grows like a weed here. It's self-seeding. Here we have hugelkultur beds, so these ones are growing really well. We cut all of this down, as you can see, right down to there, maybe like a month and a half ago. Okay. Look at it. I mean, it's just it just pops up, and we really want to focus on growing things that don't take a lot of energy, right? Yeah. We want to take things that just sort of grow on their own after we do the big input. This one here, I'm not exactly sure the origin of where this comes from, but this is a delicious perennial. Self-seeding, whereas this one actually stays through the dry season. This one will die back and then it self-seeds and it'll regrow again. But this is a really lovely one. Yeah, go for it. Oh, it's so good. And this is also a katuk. This one's kind of like a really flavorful. It's got a fantastic sour flavor to it. It sure does. So good in salads. Wow. And then this is katuk. And katuk is, I don't know, I think of it kind of like the kale of the tropics. Yeah. You know? I think they taste good together. They're really nice together. Wow. Yeah. So we'll chop this one up with this one and makes a fantastic mixed green salad. Over here we have another one, which is quite similar. Also a self-seeding annual is essentially what it is. And this is cranberry hibiscus, or sorry, the green hibiscus. And this one here is got a bit of a meatier texture than the cranberry hibiscus, a little bit stronger. But oof, that's so good. So we definitely has more flavor than you would even think it would have. It is fantastic. Yeah, for a leaf that just kind of grows in here without really a lot of help. And part of that is due to the fact that we have constructed what would traditionally be called like a hugelkultur or a raised bed. So these ones here, instead of raising them, we've actually dug the sides. Okay. And this was done several years ago. A hugelkultur bed is a raised bed that's at the foundation has a ton of wood in it. And the woody biomass has sheet mulch over the top and then a growing medium of soil. And what that does is offers a really slow release of nutrients to the bed and ensures that even in the wet season, it will shed water really well. In the dry season, the logs act as a sponge. So it's really excellent for a climate like ours where we can get up to 6 meters of rain a year.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So it allows the water to shed off. Great evaporative quality to it. And of course, everything else loves to grow in here. We have Gotu Cola here as well.
Is that edible?
Mm-hmm. It's medicinal. Yep.
It almost looks like nasturtium.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, you know, I admit I'm rather new to annual agriculture, so I couldn't tell you I knew what nasturtium looked like. But,
it's a flower that it would be. The petals look very similar to this, but they have like little orange flowers. That come
interesting. Yeah, yeah. Well, this is one of the fun things that we see here is that things just sort of will pop up here that that we like to keep around, like culantro coyote is a good example of that. Let me see if I can find some.
Okay.
We usually have a bunch right over here. Yeah, this one right here. So culantro coyote is basically like cilantro.
Oh wow.
Try it out.
Oh yeah. Does taste like cilantro.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just a little meatier.
Little meatier. Yeah. So the ladies in the kitchen love cooking with that. That's one of their favorites. We have a couple of other things. I think we just passed by it over here called Kang Kong or Kang Kong.
Okay.
K-A-N-G Kong. And it's this one right here. We're growing it in a sunken bed, but this is another either a perennial or self-seeding annual. I'm not sure, but either way, it's the same effect. Is that we get this all year round, and we've got it in a sunken bed because it actually is kind of like rice in the sense that it wants to be in. Really, it wants to be submerged, like right up to here. But this one, oh my God, probably the best cooked green I've ever had. It's like, I don't know, can't really describe exactly it, but it's a fantastic flavor.
Might try one?
Yeah, go for it. I think you eat actually the whole stalk too.
Okay.
So when it's not cooked, it's not as flavorful, but you eat the whole stalk and the leaf here. So again, another thing that we don't need to put a time and energy into. That's just going to continue to produce the food we want. So we have some herbal beds here as well. We've got chives. We've got a this is a what is it called, a Thai or a curry? You know, I'm actually not sure exactly. We have 11 verbena here, which is really delightful, super lovely flavor and smell there. We use this in our balms that we make, which is essentially like our water kefir soda.
Try one.
Here, you want one? He didn't want to try it.
You can see these beds, you know, we do have a plan for them and certain things that we want to have here, but we're also allowing nature to sort of plant what she wants here. So for example, if we look over here, we have another medicinal. This is gavilana, which is also called jackass bitter.
Okay.
And
what do you use that one for?
This one is fantastic for antibacterial qualities.
Okay.
Very potent medicinal. It's like taking antibiotics, to be quite honest. I've taken it before as the locals recommend it, and it'll clear you up real quick. It's the second most bitter thing I've ever tasted in my life.
So do you eat it or do you make a tea out of it?
Make it out of tea.
Okay.
Yeah. You steep it for I think we did it for 10 or 20 minutes. Drank like 1 to 3 cups a day.
Okay.
For as long as your symptoms persist. A lot of people here, though, will just use it when they have a tummy ache.
I was going to say it's probably good for digestion because it's bitter.
That's right, exactly. The digestive bitters are fantastic. So this one here, you can see it's just growing up right next to our hoop vine here. We've got 1, 2, there's like 8 stalks here, 10 maybe. So we can come in here, take these leaves, and I promise you, I've never tasted something bitter like this before. It's, woo. Yeah.
I think I'm going to pass on that one.
Yeah, of course, no, understandably. But yeah, so we got great stuff like this one. Another one that we use as well is this one right here. This is called Haitian basket vine or hoop vine. And this is a perennial that we use as a cooked green. So we wouldn't just eat this right now, but what we would do is we would boil it down, chop it up, and mix it into a picadillo verde. Which is delicious. We could use it to make like a sag paneer as well. So there's one. Over here, we're experimenting with some hoop house stuff. Generally, we want to be planting things that are appropriate for our climate, but we also like to eat chilies and hot stuff. And so part of the idea here is we've got chilies planted. that they want a lot of sun, but they don't want to get rained on. And so this thing here is designed so that we can lift the whole thing up and move it to different beds.
It's so amazing all the different things that they are doing and even growing here, and how this place provides people like Ryan with a plethora of opportunities to live, to work, to learn, and even play in. As our tour with Ryan continued, we next moved on to an area where they are experimenting and working with compost.
Can take you over here to our compost system. We've got, we did a little experiment here with just on-the-ground compost covered.
Trying to
from
heat
the
it
rain.
up more?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's actually, it's done. It's already like, you know, it used to be, it started here, and it's gone all the way down now. And the experiment here was just to do more of an open-air pile with like a lasagna strategy.
Okay.
Of having dry debris mixed in with the fruits and vegetables and our food scraps, essentially. And by layering it like that, it creates a lot of really good oxygenation, promotes good soil microbes, and breaks down the material really quickly. So that was a little experiment we've got. And here's our compost, which is a little bit in transition right now, because we really, with like there's different attitudes about composting. Some of them, people really want to focus on aeration, and we use an aeration system where we are actually turning it like this. And in a system like that, you need to add some carboniferous material. Ideally, we'd move towards a system where we weren't turning, because some evidence does suggest that turning gives you a brief spike in oxygen, but then depletes the compost of oxygen later on and lowers the temperature. And so when you're doing that, you need to use a carboniferous material. This is sawdust, which is pretty carbon heavy, so not ideal, but at this time of the year right now, we don't actually have dried leaves, which is what we normally use for our compost. So we would throw in like our pineapples and our eggshells and everything like that, and then we would cover it up with leaves to create sort of what are called like interstitial air pockets for all this to thrive in. Yeah. You can see right now this pile right here, a little under 100 degrees, but let's see if we got that in there deeper. It'd definitely go up. This one here, when I checked it yesterday, was like 135, 140. So they get cooking. They get pretty hot. So, and then we have a biodigestion system here as well, and we put all the soil that we basically create from that right up here for use in the garden. So one of the challenges of this system is that this is designed for the size of maybe like a family of 4, and we have 12 people living here year round, and then we have a lot of visitors, and that's 22,000 meals every year that goes through here. And so with this particular composting system, it's not really big enough for what we need, but it's the one that we have currently, and so we do rely on a lot of this carboniferous material, particularly this sawdust here right now, which is kind of a stopgap. A bit too carbon heavy, but it's what we have right now while we don't have dried leaves, which we harvest from the forest. So yeah, we'll get a nice spread on that, and that keeps the smell down and helps it all break down. So.
And a lot of people think if you have a compost pile, it's real smelly. But I'm right here, it's not smelly at all. And actually a real healthy, good compost pile that's done right just doesn't have really a smell to it.
No, no, and that's the beauty. We've had stinkier times in the year, but it's so easily remedied with just an additional load of carbon to it. And there's so much more nuance to this than I fully comprehend, because I'm still fairly new to all this material. But I've been able to see this over the course of the year go from real stinky at the beginning, when we didn't really have enough carbon, to really just upping the amount of dried material. So like dried leaves, we use a little bit of dried vetiver grass. And then here we're defaulting to something that we have tons of, which is the sawdust. And I think it's like a 300 to 1 or a 500 to 1 ratio of carbon and nitrogen, which is a bit cold, I would say, as opposed to hot being a lot of nitrogen. But it's going to do the trick. We have so much material that comes in here every day that it hardly matters. But yeah, no smell. I mean, like, that actually smells quite nice, actually. It's a really pretty cool.
And you mentioned being new to this. Being new to, how long have you been here on the ranch?
Yeah, so I've been here for 10 months now. We started January 15th. The program goes till December 15th. So it is a year-long intensive program, and a lot of this material is fairly new to me coming here to the ranch. And the breadth and the depth of knowledge that we as apprentices have been able to acquire here is not something I anticipated. It's a lot.
Wow, that's great. So what was it that prompted you to, where are you from?
Washington State, so
Washington
from Bellingham,
State.
Washington, yeah.
So from Washington State all the way down here to Central America and Costa Rica, what made you do that?
Yeah. Well, my partner and I had a friend of ours, Connor, who was exploring different opportunities for an experience like this, and we were keeping in touch. And I told my girlfriend, I said, hey, you should meet Connor, and you guys are into fermentation and growing, and ultimately want to have some land and things like that. And so that was the thing. He came here for their internship program like almost 3 years ago, and had a pretty life-changing experience. He was, every time we got to check in with him on Facebook or things like that, he was always just like radiant. He loved his experience here and learned a lot, and met his partner here as well. And so when he came back, he said, you guys would love this. You would just drink it up. And so we both applied, my partner and I, and we both got accepted. And yeah, like major change in climate for us, major change in living situation, moving from sort of living in an apartment to living in, like rural Costa Rica. It's we're out here. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah, totally. And my personal motivation for it too was that I was working in sustainability consulting, and I was noticing that a lot of the language that people were using in the sustainability field is around circular economy, is around closed loop systems, and people in permaculture have been practicing those things or observing those patterns for decades, and their inspiration was largely from indigenous practices that are really focused on paying attention to the patterns of Mother Nature and Earth. And so that alignment, where you've got companies saying we want to take the output, the products that we've got, and design them so that they can be brought back and then turned into more of our own products to lower their costs and also minimize their footprint, is the same thing that we do here when we grow things for biomass that we put on our soil. The circular sort of things, knowing that everything we put in here doesn't just leave, it stays on site. And so my inspiration was to come here and pick up that pattern, sort of like taking a lens, and then being able to apply that to business development, to entrepreneurship, to sustainable business, because I think that's actually where business is going on a global scale. Is it's going towards more circular patterns. It's a good direction things are going in. It's inspiring, and so hopefully my knowledge here, I can leverage that elsewhere in my work.
That is so awesome. And with the transition of coming down here, how have you as an American had to adjust to the standard living here and the living arrangements and things like that?
So adjusting to living here at the ranch has been real interesting because this business relies on people like myself coming here to a place that is predominantly not folks from the U.S. So they are expats, and they've been living here for 18 years, Timo and Robin, and so they are members of the community. They're Ticos, but at the same time, there's always the privilege differential, the power differential between people who are able to come with resources to start something like this. And they've done a fantastic job leveraging all that, but it's really made me wonder about what my role is here in this community of Mastatal, which has its own unique challenges that's shared with many rural communities in the U.S. and elsewhere, and so I've done a lot of reading of material that wouldn't necessarily be common in the United States, like open veins of Latin America, learning about sort of the patterns of globalism and colonialism that have led this place to be, led Costa Rica and the rest of Latin America to be a bit underdeveloped, and that's given me a lot of a lot of opportunity to think about, you know, what's my role here? How do I act here? What, you know, what's my part? As opposed to sort of the classic white savior stuff that's so common among you know, your sort of Red Cross-esque nonprofits and stuff. Whereas Rancho Mastatal is an integrated part of the community here that leverages its privilege to assisting people in the way they want to be helped.
Assist people in the way that they want to be helped. I don't know if Ryan came up with that quote, but that is a quotable quote. It is really good for us all to keep in mind. Far too often, when we want to help people, which helping people is good, we want to superimpose our will in their lives and help them in the ways that we want for them to be helped, instead of just saying, hey, I really want to help you. In what ways would you like help? Well, I really enjoyed our time at Rancho Mastatal. They offer workshops throughout the year on sustainability, permaculture, homesteading, wilderness medicine, natural buildings, and more. So make sure you check out their website. I'll leave it in the show notes below, as well as feel free to follow them on Instagram. And they also take donations for the work that they do in helping individuals in challenge areas learn to work with the environment around them. Well, make sure you stay tuned. I have a couple more videos planned for our time at Rancho Mastatal, where Ryan shows us their food forest, where they're growing fruit trees in abundance, as well as the natural buildings that they have constructed on site and their ways of producing and preserving the food that they have at Rancho Mastatal. So make sure you stay tuned, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's it for now. We'll see you next time, and as always, be strong, grow on, and live life without excuses. See you next time.
Yeah, it's like so many different things growing in here, I couldn't list them. Actually, I could tell you in a 5 meter by 30 meter space, we have 1,100 plants planted in here. Planting tons of different things in the same hole even.